The Virgin Suicides.
The diary is an unusual document of adolescence in that it rarely depicts the emergence of an unformed ego. Cecilia, the youngest, only 13, had gone first, slitting her wrists while taking a bath, and when they found her afloat in her pink pool with yellow eyes giving off the odor of a mature woman.
What are you doing here, honey? You're not even old enough to know how bad life gets.
Obviously, Doctor, you've never been a 13-year-old girl before.
The spike had gone through so fast there was no blood on it. It was perfectly clean, and Cecilia merely seemed balanced on the pole like a gymnast. The fluttering wedding dress added to the circusy effect. We noticed the lights in Cecilia's old room. We failed to see the red and white pinpricks glowing at the window from which she jumped 10 months before. We counted 16 and understood the mystery the girls had created a shrine to their dead sister. On September 7th, a day whose coolness dampened hopes for an Indian summer, Mary, Bonnie, Lux, and Therese came to school as though nothing had happened. Once again, despite their closed ranks, we could see the new differences among them, and we felt that if we kept looking hard enough, we might begin to understand what they were feeling and who they were.
Hey, how are you? You don't have to talk to me now.
Without explanation, the girls were taken out of school. They merely failed to show up one morning and then again the next. At that point, being in school was just making things worse. When they spoke of her, it was to say that they had always expected Cecilia to meet a bad end, and that far from viewing the Lisbon girls as a single species, they had always seen Cecilia as a freak of nature. Four Sisters of Cecilia Lisbon, the East Side teen whose suicide last summer focused awareness on a national problem, put their bodies in jeopardy Wednesday in an attempt to save the elm Cecilia had so dearly loved. Just as we had begun to despair of ever being near them again, more laminated pictures of the Virgin began showing up. The last note, written on the back of a laminated picture of the Virgin, arrived in Chase Bull's mailbox on June 14th. It said simply, "Wait for our signal tomorrow at midnight." A minute later, we heard a car door slam in the garage. We waited. We weren't sure where the other girls were, but we could hear sounds of packing upstairs, a closet door opening, a suitcase jingling, bed springs' feet moved above and below. They found Mary in the kitchen, not dead but nearly so, her head and torso thrust into the oven as though she were scrubbing it. Therese, stuffed with sleeping pills washed down with gin, was as good as dead by the time we entered the house. Amid the half-deflated balloons, Bonnie had tied the rope to the same beam as the decorations. Lux was the last to go, 20 or 30 minutes after we left. Fleeing, screaming without sound, we forgot to stop at the garage from which music was still playing. They found her in the front seat, gray-faced and serene. But that was in the days when they made expected perils to come from without, and nothing made less sense but that time than several rooms buried in a house itself becoming one big coffin.
Virgin suicide, what was that she cried? No use in staying on this Holocaust ride. She gave me her cherry, she was my virgin suicide.